All right, friends. So this is Jo with the Yarn Over LLC, and I wanted to show you today how I weave the weave your own earrings that I have. So I actually have a friend that, my good friend Laura, that I am making these for. She chose out the colors. She wanted this pink and blue. So I've actually pre-prepped the amount that we need so that we're not wasting time getting it ready. But I figured we would just start here. Sorry, I'm gonna have to cut all this audio out later, I think. Oh, filming videos. It's an interesting thing, and I am learning how to do this as I am becoming more active on social media with the business. So, but I guess that's the way that's the way we got to do things, right? It's a world we live in at the moment. And yeah, anyway, before I get myself so distracted in thoughts, I'm gonna go ahead and just share with you. So let's see if we can get this to focus. So there usually is a right side and a wrong side on the earrings. Just be aware of that when you're doing it, so you can kind of see the wrong side is going to be the side that the earring tip is pointing towards, because that's right how it's going to hang from the head. So you want your front to be here, and that's going to be your back. You'll also, every once in a while, you'll see maybe there's some burn marks, or it's not always the prettiest on the back. I try to send you guys the nicest ones, but sometimes it happens and I don't like to waste. So anyway, we are going to, so the first thing I like to do with these is I go ahead and take, this is the hardest part, is with the little earring things in the way. Okay. What I do is I haven't cut this off yet of the bobbin, because for the first part, it's not actually important. I'm also hoping and praying I have enough of this yarn or of this embroidery floss for this one. But what I'm doing is I'm basically coming around the front, and on the back side, I'm going to tie a knot, and I'm just making sure that this front bit is catching in that first little notch there. I'm also going to leave about a 2-inch tail or so, enough that at the end we can kind of tie things together if we want to and trim it off. But I want to have enough to work with if I need to later. So this is a little fiddly. Once you get going, it's not as bad, but it can be a little fiddly especially when I'm trying to pay attention to a camera and what I'm doing and how I'm showing you. But okay, let's see if I can get this up where you can see it. So I'm literally just doing, come on, focus on it. It doesn't want to focus. Sorry, y'all. Okay, but just tied a knot there. I'm going to do another knot. And sometimes I like to, when you pass it through, I'll pass it through past that end under twice. It's makes a little bit of a stronger knot, less likely to come undone. There we go. And just boop, tie that down tight. Okay, so you can see. If you want, you can trim this off right now if it's getting in your way too much. I kind of like to leave it on just so that if I have to go in and readjust anything or change anything later, I can unknot it if I need to. But really, if it's just in your way, you can trim it down and trim it off now. So I've got this tied on, the knot on the back side of the earring. I'm going to come back over that hole that that I just went through to tie the knot. And I'm just going to come across the front of the little earring and go through the notch that is exactly opposite of it. So came through this notch, going through that notch. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of hold it a little bit in the back, come up and go through the notch right next to it and pull it tight. So you're not actually coming all the way around the loom, you're just kind of notching around the back, and now you're back to the front, and then you're going to go in that same opposite, in that opposite one. I really am hoping that this is catching. So same thing, I kind of held it down. You can see on this side now, it's kind of in the back. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way across. And I'm going to do a few more here where you can kind of see, and then who knows, maybe after I'm done filming, I will speed this up. All right, coming around to the end, and I've got one more there, one more here. Woohoo, and I do have enough of this left. Okay, so you can see, you can't see the tail behind it, but so there's the front, there's the back. If things will actually get in focus. But you'll see I'm not coming all the way around. I'm just going back and forth through and through. Now, I'm going to just take the rest of this off. And I've got quite a bit of a tail. I've got a little bit of a tail left, but it's not that much extra. If you have a lot extra, you could, or if it's like still connected, you can just trim it off. But you're going to give yourself enough length that you can, and again, this is probably more than you need, but yeah. So now you get to see me try to thread a needle on camera. That's fun. Ooh, I got it first time. That's impressive. All right. So now you're gonna thread a needle with what's left of it. I do recommend a needle that has a big enough eye for embroidery floss, or if you're using like a fingering weight yarn, you know, a big enough eye that you can get it through. But I also recommend a needle that's kind of long, like definitely longer than the little loom earring itself. And you'll see why here in a moment. But so we still have this going through. It's going through that last one. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come through the back, being careful to not go between any of the threads that I warped on or that I wove on. And I'm just coming out, kind of out the side. Boop. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry, this is maybe not the best demo. Maybe someday I will redo this when it's better. But right now I wanted to make sure people actually had one to see how to do this. So I've got it coming out the back. I'm again kind of similar to the first time. We're going to go through that last loop one more time. Boop. And then now you've got this anchor where we went through the first time. And so I just like to go under it. And through again. And this time we're going to actually make a knot by going back through the loop before it's pulled tight. So just basically we're knotting it off again. Make sure it's tight enough that it's not gonna, you know, come off the loom. I'm gonna knot it one more time just to be a little extra safe. Boop. All right. And now we can trim it. And you know what? I am gonna trim both of these because I don't want to deal with them the whole time. One thing I will say I forgot to mention as I was talking about doing the initial, this is called the warp, or the initial yarn that you're putting on here. You want it to be kind of tight, but not like taut, but not like, so it's not sagging. You can kind of get in between things, but it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to pull it insanely tight. I did redesign it so these teeth shouldn't, the old design, the teeth would kind of snap off at times if you were too rough with it. But they shouldn't snap. But again, it's still a light, small, delicate piece of wood. So do be a little bit gentle with it. But yeah, so just, you know, kind of even tension across all of them and, you know, fairly tight. Anyway, all right, let's put the rest of our yarn away. Now we are going to our next bit. And again, this is, I have this already pre-trimmed to the size that you need. Really, I would say I do about 3 arm lengths. If you're using your own and not doing one of the kits that I'm going to make and sell, you'll, oh, I caught one of the extra strands. But yeah, about 3 arm lengths held is a plenty. Honestly, you can probably get away with 2 if you have long arms like myself. Okay. See, I knew it was too good to be true. The first one that went perfectly. We'll get this one on there, you know, and we might help ourselves out a little bit. Give ourselves a nice, even, new, fresh end to work with. There we go. Did I get it? Ah, yes, I got all the threads. And this one we are going to go ahead and just, again, 3 arm lengths. That's what I have here already wound up. So just so you know. Also, how cute are these? This is the big reveal. If it will, there we go. Big reveal of my new logo. Isn't that cute? My friend Jessa did that. But I figured out that I can cut out these little bobbins on old soda boxes. So how great is that, right? Why not reuse them? But anyway, you're going to take the 3 arms length of embroidery floss that you have. I usually will, you're only going to be weaving with one, but I still kind of pull the tail back pretty long so that I'm not working with the longest thing in the world. And then, all right, so now you're going to come to one of the opposite sides. It really doesn't matter which, just, it doesn't really matter where you start, but we're going to throw in things, but you can go through, but we're going to be weaving this way now, right? So wherever you want there, I'm just going to come across. We'll start here. We're going to start across from this one. So I'm taking this through. Now this is the one where, right, you've got a little more you have to work with. So, and kind of the same way we did the first time. Go ahead and, this is so hard to do, to try to keep it in frame. All right. But again, we're just tying a couple knots, a couple of very secure knots to keep it in place on the back side. Again, I like to loop it through twice just to give it that little extra stability. Pull it taut. I learned my lesson last time. We're getting rid of this little tail. Boop. All right. So here is my #1 tip for weaving these little earrings. And that is your needle that you use, the one that I said should be a little longer than the loom, is going to be essentially your shuttle. It is going to be how you manage your yarn and weave. So same thing as before, I'm coming from the back to the front through that very first notch, sorry, I'm looking at it, not in the camera because it hurts my neck. Coming through the notch, that first notch. And then to weave, you're gonna choose, you can either go over or under to start. I'm gonna go over because I feel like it, and also because it's the yarn over, right? So yarn over, and then you're gonna go under, over, and under. And so what I'm doing here is basically just a plain weave. It's 1 over, 1 under, and then on the opposite row, it'll be 1 under, 1 over. And it'll create a nice little grid pattern, a little checkerboard pattern, as plain weave does. Well, at least a balanced plain weave does. I'm getting into too much terminology at the moment, though. Right now, you don't care that much about it. You just want to learn how to weave. Your little earrings. Okay. So I kind of pulled it taut this time around. We'll actually use, oh, and I didn't actually explain this. When I was going through, you'll notice I was actually going through with the back of the needle, with the blunt side of the needle, because that really does help keep you from like splitting the yarn as much. If you're going in this way, you're bound to like end up sewing through and catching it. And you don't want that. You just want to be able to go over and under. All right. So I've come under the first one, and the yarn's kind of already set up. So again, I'm just gonna go through that first notch, pull it back around, and back to the front. Again, I'm not going all the way around the loom, I'm just catching the tooth and coming back through. Now, I like to kind of hold it out of the way with my finger. I put a little tension on here. If you are a knitter, like a continental knitter or a crocheter, this might be a more familiar motion. If it's not, that's fine. You can do this, or you can just, whatever is easiest for you and makes sense for you to manage your yarn. So the last stitch that we did, you'll notice we actually came under that stitch, right? So over, under, and because we have an odd number of stitches, we have 18 stitches on these, or rows on these, the last one over is going to be an under. So that actually means our first stitch on this row is going to go the opposite of that, which is over. So we're starting with yarn over again. Now and then we're going to go under the next one, over, under, exactly the same as before, just opposite of the previous stitch, if I'm making any sense at all right now. All right. So over, under, over, under. Do you now understand why I named it the yarn over? Also, my last name is Over, so, but us yarnies like our little puns. All right, but you can see that like when the needle is longer, again, I'm so sorry, this is so out of focus. I will get a better setup at some point. I'm working on it. I'm just trying to do things on a shoestring at the moment. So, alrighty. Cool. So I've got this one pulled through again. Nothing's tangled up. Again, so I'm going to notch it into that tooth that is exact opposite, but you'll notice there's kind of a bit of a bow in it. That's okay. So we're going to take the back of the needle and we're just going to boop, 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 push it down, put it where we want it to be, right? And kind of mess with it. Lovely. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Please, nothing is perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. We're just doing the best we can here. And it might look a little funky the first time you do it, or first few times you do it, or whatever. That's okay. That's all right. Because in the end, you will be able to kind of smush it and manage it the way you want to. So again, we're going the opposite of what we did last time. So last time, this last stitch, we ended with an under. So now we're going to go over, under, over, under. Now you can do different designs or different patterns. A twill would be like 2 over, 2 under, and then switching those out. Someone I know did a really cool diamond. They were like, and I don't know exactly how she did it, but I think was maybe going to the center one, and then I would have to look at it a little more closely to see how she did it, but it was really cool. My tail got tied to the main yarn. I'm just going to pull it through and we'll fix that in a moment. And yes, when it's long like this, it will get a little bit, it can get a little tangled up. It can get a little, the yarn can be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Just, oh, I know patience is hard. This might be something that helps you learn patience, but maybe not. Maybe it will help you be mindful and just look at the fiber and the pattern that you're building and the things that are happening. But either experience or even both experiences, totally normal. So I've got that hooked and set up for the next one, but I'm going to fix this little, let's see, it just, my tail knotted around the main piece. Let's undo. Maybe I will cut this out for the nice social media post, but I think for YouTube, you're just going to get all of it. And I'm sorry, you can fast forward through it if you want to. Or maybe I'll be nice and cut it out. We'll see. Oh my gosh. But I think it's good. It's good for you to see that, look, I've made, I don't know how many of these so far. This is these earrings are my own design. I'm the one that created them. So yeah, I've had to practice a lot. I've had to, you know, make sure that they work. I've done a lot of them, and you know what? Yeah, I still wrestle with the yarn sometimes. Still futz with it sometimes. All right. So back around. And again, here we go. Same old thing. Over, under, over, under. If you ever accidentally go under two when you only want to go under one, or, you know, you miss a stitch or something like that, you can always just go back and just literally come back and undo, like follow your old pattern, and you can literally just unweave it the way you just wove it, to help get yourself back on track. Or just let it be there and be we'll call it a feature of the piece. It doesn't have to be a mistake. It can be a feature. Yeah. Oh my gosh. As I'm like, I just realized all you're getting is my hands. Try to be nice. But you can see, starting to try to get to focus. There we go. It's starting to shape up. I'm starting to get a little grid pattern coming through. All right, I'm going to shut up for a little bit and just weave. And like I said, I will probably fast forward this part, speed it up. But here we go. All right. We're going to talk about something as we start getting closer to the end. You'll notice as things get a little tighter and you get less and less room to work in, that sometimes it's hard to get all the way through the edge without it like in one pass. So I will start to do shorter passes where I'm just doing a few stitches at a time and then just work my way across. You can do it slowly but surely. There we go. There's that last one. And then eventually it might even get to the point where you're literally just doing one at a time. Towards the very, very end, it can get a little bit tight. Ooh, I'm caught on the earring. Caught on the earring itself. Come out. Thank you. There we go. All right. But again, and you can, I know I kind of beat that down a little bit before I finished, but you don't have to. You can just beat it once you finish the row. But again, whatever makes the most sense for you and feels the best for you, do it. All right. So. You can also beat this way too. If things are starting to feel a little out of line, like just make that thread go where you want it to go. As you can see, it's definitely getting a little bit tighter, a little bit harder to work in, but it's still possible and you can do it, I promise. I promise. Right. Only a couple more left to go. A couple more rows. As you see, oh well, I guess you didn't see because it was off the camera, but if this starts to get in your way, just flip it out of the way. Just move the components of the jewelry where you need them so that they're not getting in your way. They are, honestly, I prefer weaving these without the jewelry components on it. If you have jewelry, like equipment, and you want to take them off, that is a-okay. They're just, I can't figure out a great way to, I mean, I probably could figure out a way to ship them without the components, but then everyone would have to put them on, and not everybody is able to do that. So just definitely made more sense to send them with the components, even if they're a little bit trickier to weave on. Again, I'm just doing a few stitches at a time. On the very last row, you'll probably see I'll at times probably only do one stitch at a time, just because, again, running out of room. But that's all right. That means you've come a long way. And we're gonna have some pretty cool earrings here in a moment. Yep, see, I'm only going through 2 of those. I could maybe try to force that next stitch, but why? Why hurt myself to do that? Ooh, it just doesn't want to come up back up through. Push it down with my finger, that stitch with my finger. There we go. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. You can't even see. Y'all can't even see what I'm fussing with over here. Okay. There we go. If you have a thimble, it's probably a great idea. I definitely poke myself sometimes with the needle. But I will use the back of my thumbnail sometimes if I need to. Okay, one more to go under here. And then I've got that row. And we're down to our last row. All right. go. You'll get to hear the weird sounds I make and ways I talk to myself when I'm crafting. That is my way of crafting. Weird sounds and self-talk. Yeah, I'm at the point where I'm basically just going through one at a time in order to get these through. Almost there. Oh, maybe I can get two. This is silly. I should just literally do one at a time. Oh, well. Oh, see, I got two. I got two. All right, almost there. We got just a few more stitches. One. I'm not even going to go through a full one. I'm just going to go through half, up and down. Almost like I'm sewing. And actually, but this last one I am going to see. Ooh. Very last one is the trickiest. But you got it. Actually, I am going to, for once, use the narrow side of the, there we go, needle. There we go. All right, so scooch some things back into place again. Make sure things are looking the way I want them to look. But then we are going to have to, and I know this is going to be the tightest spot, but we're gonna, so we've come back around the back, right? And we're gonna come under here, and I'm gonna make sure I'm coming through. It's hard to see, sorry. Coming through. Sorry. This is maybe the hardest part of it all, but you can do it. You can totally do it. Let's see. Coming through the backside. And we're just making sure, it's also just really hard for me to hold with this camera again. So I'm just making sure I'm coming through. You see that? I'm not actually weaving it into anything else. There we go. I'm just coming back out underneath both. And then I'm going to rest that loop in the first notch. That's the original one, right? And then this one's will come back through the first notch. So again, we've got kind of our double thing going on there. And now we've got that bit on the back end that we can secure. So again, I'm just going to go under. And I'm just kind of pulling it a little bit to make sure it's taut. That it's good. And then coming back through itself so that we can actually make some knots. If I had left the tail on this original one, I could tie the two tails together as well to add a little bit of additional security, but honestly, it's fine. As long as you, oh, I just went through. I didn't actually knot that one. Let's actually knot it. There we go. I think that's, there we go. That's a knot. So long as you knot them securely, they're not going to go anywhere. And it's fine. So, trim off my last little bit. Boop. And there you have it. Little woven earring. So I don't know, this total took me just under 45 minutes, so for one earring. So 2 earrings, maybe hour and a half. So they don't really take that long to make. They're a nice little afternoon project if you want one. Still, come in here and still futzing with some of it. But yeah. Yeah, so it's a nice little afternoon project. Fun times. So in case you want to see what the back looks like too. Just trying to get focus, just doesn't want to focus. Yeah. Anyway. There you go. Weave your own earrings.